You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
You have a heart of a giant, show it. You got the pride of a lion, roaring. Maybe you need big love, you don't need to give up. 'Cause something real is waiting there for you. You've been flying solo, now it's time to let go. The only thing that's left for you to do.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Women's Football Show. I'm Scott Pike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Delighted to welcome this week's special guest. It's a pleasure to welcome on the show St Mirren manager Kate Cooper. Kate, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
How are we?
Yeah, good. Even better after yesterday, but yeah, it's good. Good Monday morning.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good Monday morning, obviously, for St Mirren. Yesterday, we'll touch on yesterday's game. Obviously, a 3-0 win over Westdyke. Massive result for the side, but also a massive occasion for the club, obviously playing at the St Mirren Stadium. Big occasion, big obviously turning point for the club. How was it as an occasion? How big was it for the club as a whole?
Yeah, I think for the players and their families and even the supporters, it was just great to be at the stadium. I mean, the SMISA Stadium is it's a really good stadium
Yeah.
in terms of the feel about it as well. When you come to it, it feels it's just a great place to be. So no, it was fantastic. The pitch was just amazing, and just the players loved it so much, and got to create memories. Actually, that this is what these events are about, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's about creating memories for players and families. And we've got a few season ticket holders who are die-hard St Mirren people. So for them, it's like it's just like a lifelong dream as players
Yeah.
to go on. And I think, like I was saying earlier, even for with some of our academy there, and also some of the kids from the UEFA Playmakers programme. So I think in total we ended up with like 26 mascots all want to be part of it. So that shows you there's a real appetite amongst younger girls to be part of something and to meet people who are real good role models for them in terms of the sport. So yeah, no, it was a great day. The club are great at trying to support us. They want to support the Women and Girls Academy more. They want to really welcome us into the St Mirren football family. So that yesterday was part of that focus of really trying to, while the men's World Cup was on and that the men's team, first team were off, was to use the resources the club have to really try and give to the women's team to kind of promote it a bit more, because like everything, the club don't have an extensive staff. I mean, it's not like we're sitting with loads of staff. So I think sometimes people assume when you're attached to a named club as such, they've got all these resources. They're just like us. Everybody's just always in football. Everybody's always got 3 and 4 jobs. Nobody ever just does one job. So they
Yeah.
wanted to use that time to give to us yesterday, and it was great. Some of the footage we've got from it, the pictures, so yeah, good memories. And we're already in talks now about having more games there. So
Really
I
good.
think that's good.
Brilliant.
us.
Obviously, as well, it was a big game. Westdyke obviously doing really well in the league. To get that 3-0 result, obviously, you mentioned there about the occasion. Naomi Clark, Kelly Ross, and Francesca Blair with the 3 goals. A massive result on top of that as well.
Yeah, I think even for us, I don't think the day could have went any better for us. It was, I think, obviously played Westdyke at the second game of the season, and I mean they're an excellent side. I mean they've only, prior to playing us yesterday, they'd only been beaten once by FC Edinburgh. So it's a second loss of the season. But I thought that we managed the game particularly well. But I think playing at the stadium, there was an extra edge for us yesterday, and I think they'll still do particularly well. But yeah, but I think for us as well, as we had really looked at this month, because we had Grampian last week, which we lost 4-2, and I don't think that result really it gives justice to the game. The game was extremely tight that week, and this week we've managed to beat Westdyke. Next week we're up to FC Edinburgh, and then the week after that we've got Ross Dale in the Scottish Cup.
Yeah.
So for us as a team, this is really the kind of the month that looks at how well we can cope being in that top 6, because it's been quite a tough run for us since the pandemic.
Mhm.
We lost a lot of players to SPL2 clubs over the pandemic, and it was a real rebuilding. Last year was particularly difficult with some real tough results last year, but the
Mhm.
players have dug it out. We've kept going, and then this year is getting up into that top 6 and competing. So
And
I think yesterday's one of the but yes, it's all coaches are. Yesterday was yesterday, and we're
Mhm.
already looking at, we need to be able to repeat that week in, week out, and that's the consistency between being an average team who gets an odd big result here and being a quality team and a good side that consistently wins week in, week out, and that is what we've got to aim for.
Yeah, and we'll touch a wee bit on the league later on, obviously as a whole, because it is, you've said there, it's a really competitive league. And there's a lot of, the one thing about that league is there's always big results. There's not many tight games in there. There's always goals in it. So it's that kind of league. But we'll obviously get your thoughts on that later on. We'll go through the weekend's action. There was a lot to get through. A full league card came back, obviously, after the international break and things like that. The big game of the weekend in the SWPL one was Glasgow City 1, Rangers 1. Again, it shows you the top three sides. There's only a point split in them. Glasgow City and Rangers both dropping their first points this season against each other. Lauren Davidson gave Glasgow City the league, and Tessel Madag brought Rangers level. Again, I watched the game. It was probably a fair result, and I don't think either side could say they were far better. I think both sides can say they had good spells in the game, but it shows you just both sides. They're very hard to split at the moment, and they're both just, when they play against each other, these big three teams, it's very hard to see past them.
Yeah, I saw interviews with both the managers during the week when they were talking about their expectations for the game, and I think they recognised how tight it is. Rangers have obviously invested heavily in their squad, and then they are trying to look to build on last year and to become one of the forces. And Glasgow City are always as Glasgow City are.
Yeah.
They just have that ability to keep coming back and reinvesting and reinventing themselves, despite having maybe more challenges in terms of being that kind of a standalone female club, which is great to see. And I think they do wonders there. But yeah, I think it's always going to be tight between the two of them. And both managers recognised that. They knew they were going to have to go toe-to-toe. So I think that result probably reflects that game yesterday.
Yeah, it was a tight game as well. And Celtic, obviously, they saw it as a good opportunity as well. A 3-0 victory over Hearts puts them to within a point of Rangers and Glasgow City. Obviously, Glasgow City beat them a couple of weeks ago. Amy Gallagher with a double and Liv Ferguson with the goals for Celtic. Celtic, obviously, had a disappointing result a couple of weeks ago, but when the two sides are playing against each other, it's a massive opportunity to get back in the mix. And Celtic did that. It was a convincing 3-0 win.
Yeah, they're always looking to keep in touch. I think sometimes there's still that building process where it's getting up and having that consistency where they constantly can challenge Glasgow City and Rangers. And they do really well every year. And sometimes you just look at them and it's almost just that wee edge for them. And that's probably the part. And they'd have looked at the game because Hearts have made so much progress. When you look at when they originally came back, moved up, and they've done so much and they've invested so much in that team with some of the players getting part-time contracts. And so yesterday, Hearts will always give that top edge, the top teams there, a real challenging game. So they'd have been quite pleased with that result yesterday. I think they'd have felt that they kind of dominated that game, come away with a 3-0 and keep in touch with the top two. So I think they'll look at their weekend as being quite a productive weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Another team that will felt they've had a productive weekend was Partick Thistle. 5-1 away win over Hamilton. Hamilton were down to 10 just before a kind of 12th minute. It was a weird kind of sending off. I don't know if you've seen it, but Partick Thistle reaped the rewards. A double for Lindsay Taylor and goals from Donaldson, Ferguson and McClintock. Puts Partick Thistle into 5th place and 15 points from 10 games. That's a big result for Partick Thistle. Obviously, the red card would have changed the game and Hamilton's approach. But Partick Thistle, they saw an opportunity and they knocked on it.
Yeah, I think Partick Thistle, I've always kind of watched them because they've been one of the clubs that have come in and you've saw them progress through all the leagues.
Yeah.
And they just work hard, and also as well as their club staunch Partick supporter. She's a season ticket, so she's always following. We're always having chats about Partick Thistle, and actually Partick Thistle They were quite supportive of us last year with some loan players when we were kind of struggling. So, yeah, and I think for them, they just seem to be growing in confidence all the time. They're always looking to, level up with players. And Hamilton are a really tough side. They're a real well organised and tough side to beat. The sending off will have made the difference, particularly so early. When that happens so early in your match, it's really hard to recover from that, because you've now got 80 minutes where you're down that player, and against a club like Partick Thistle, who will just keep going and going and going, and a real physical side. So yeah, they'll be excited by that result. Good amount of goals as well, and really building that goal tally and being up in that top half of the league. So that, again, that Partick Thistle, I think they'll be happy with their performance.
Absolutely. Hibs will be happy as well. A 6-0 win away to Glasgow Women. Doubles for Ailey Adams and Christina Fraser, Livingston, and an own goal made out of 6 for Hibs. Again, we spoke about Glasgow Women a lot. Obviously, they're not expected to do too much in this league, and it's a tough job. But Hibs are going there, and it's similar to maybe Partick Thistle. When they see an opportunity, they need to get goals, because goal difference could be massive in that kind of top 6. And Hibs have saw an opportunity again, and just they've taken it. And it'll be a big result for Hibs, because they've been up and down so far this season.
Yeah, I think the step up for Glasgow Women has been a real pub for them. I think obviously when they were in SPL2, they were really competing well in there.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with all these performance arm. When you take that step up, sometimes you don't realise how big the step is up. It's like you can get the odd result here or there, but actually stepping up and doing it consistently week in, week out. And that's the challenge that obviously Glasgow women have. But again, for Hibs, I mean, they've been on rebuilding year in, year out, really. And Dean's done a great job there, bringing in different players. And Hibs have always had a great player pathway to bring talent through. That's what they're known for. So they having the 6 goals, and I think that's important when you're playing at our level, that you actually win and you take the chances.
Yeah.
Because you need to do that at this level. So no matter where you're playing in the performance arm, when you get the opportunities to score, you need to take them. And I think some people look at the women's game and go, these high score lines, but I think it's just because we're so focused. When you get the opportunity, you need to be clinical and you need to finish. And I think the women's game is very driven by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which reflected some of the score lines today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yesterday.
Yeah, Motherwell as well. Big result for them, a 4-1 win over Aberdeen. I want to get your thoughts on Aberdeen first. It's obviously been a difficult campaign. They probably exceeded their expectations last season, but it's been a tough start to the league for them.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously Emma Hunter up there's she's done so well with the club and bringing them on. And I think, as you said, sometimes as a coach, you know that your players are moving on, but she's got a very, very young squad.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you're taking that step up, sometimes with younger players, is a real challenge when they're under pressure and having to make much more decision making. And it is about decision making and just time and experience. But I have a feeling that Aberdeen will keep working away this season, and they'll only learn from what they're going through just now. And I also think as well, sometimes when you've been used to winning, when you start to take defeats, that's actually part of your growth as a player, is being able to manage the disappointment and then get up, get out, go train again, go learn from where your mistakes are, and then actually become a better player and become a better club. So I think, yeah, Aberdeen's probably just going through that growth stage for them, of moving from being that really young side that performed really well through the different leagues.
Yeah.
And then actually now trying to become that really established, experienced Aberdeen team. And with Emma there though, but I mean, they've got phenomenal coaches up in Aberdeen who I think their style of coaching will suit the younger players, and I think they will come back. And I think if they can stay up in the league this year, then next year will be a completely different experience for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Motherwell, on the other hand, though, a big 4-1 result for them. Kayla McDonald and Goa with 2, Rice and Ingles with the goals. Motherwell, again, a side probably in that kind of middle pack. They'll be wanting to kind of be the best of that pack, and winning games like that's what you need to do to be there.
again, they're a team that's been developing over the years. You can see that. You can see that as each season passes, they become much better at managing, being in that top league, and that they just keep growing from their
Mhm.
experience. And again, that when they originally set up, they probably had older players, and then they've had a really good pathway, brought the players through. And it is that balance. I think even in the women's game, we still have that. We are trying to balance youth against experience and give them the opportunity to develop. And Motherwell definitely are growing from strength to strength.
The D United 2-1 win over Spartans, a late winner from Danny McGinley, rescued 3 points for them. Big result for the D United. Again, two teams probably very evenly matched, and it's the opportunities you talk about. It's when you're playing against each other. If you win, then if you win and you can overtake in the league, you take it.
Yeah, I think that's probably out of that league will have been probably the surprise result
Yeah.
yesterday, because obviously Spartans has always consistently been one of the high performing teams. They're all every year they're expected to be up there competing, at least to be in that top half. And I think they'll be disappointed with that result yesterday. I think Debbie will have been disappointed to concede so late in the game, because I think sometimes when you concede so late, that's where you really feel it. But again, Dundee United, they're always trying to progress as well, so they'll be that'll give them a phenomenal lift. But again, that comes back to in that league is, can you do that consistently week in week out?
Mhm.
Because it's getting those results week in week out that makes a difference between being able to compete with the Celtic, Rangers, Glasgow Cities.
Yeah.
So it's that constant growth. So probably yesterday, out of all the results, that'll be the one that'll surprise most people.
Yeah, absolutely. SWPL 2, Gat Cairn continued their run in the start of the season. They're still 5 points clear, 2-0 win away to East Fife. Jane O'Toole with a double. Again, Gat Cairn, you'll know them pretty well, I'd imagine.
Yep.
Have you been surprised by how they've started when they've took the step up?
No, I think ever since they began as a club, they've always been ambitious. I know Jane O'Toole went to Gartcairn from St Mirren,
Yeah.
so a good player, really developed really well, and then moved on. So capable of scoring goals. I think that he's got a really good squad there, and he's quite consistent with it. So yeah, no, I don't. They always perform well, and I think they'll continue to really drive, and they'll probably be one of the clubs that you would expect to progress up the leagues, because they have the ambition and the ability to do that. So yeah, no, that was a good result for them yesterday.
Yeah, Montrose as well, a 4-0 win away to Stirling Uni. Another team that's came up and got promoted, Holly Daniel with a double, Gammy and Brown with making up the 4 goals for Montrose. Again, it's this thing of Montrose, it's obviously another promoted team coming up, and they're hitting the ground running when they make that step forward.
Yeah, I mean Montrose, although they came up, they've got a very good setup.
Yeah.
Montrose, and probably in that area within the country, they probably are the most dominant team. I saw that they had obviously signed players also from Dryborough. We've got another good setup who are obviously in the championship, and so Montrose are always going to do well in that area, particularly which saw obviously Forfar.
Yeah.
When they came out of the league, that probably allowed Montrose to kind of really develop themselves into quite a stronghold team up in that area. But Stirling, I think against Stirling Uni, they've been struggling over a number of years now.
Yeah.
In terms of that, and I think just with league restructures, they've probably not come down into the level they should be actually playing at. So yeah, Montrose will be happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's just keeping that to 5 points and just keeping it going. And again, the wee bit of breathing space with St Johnstone losing to Queen's Park, a 2-1 win for Queen's Park as well. Gallagher and Gill with the goals there. That's a big result for Queen's Park, because they've been kind of up and down. Obviously, we had Craig on a few weeks ago, and he says it's just been inconsistency. But that's a big result going to St Johnstone, a team who probably would be slightly concerned now the fact that they're 8 points off the top of the table, because I know they had ambitions to win it.
Yeah, I mean St Johnstone again, they've got a really good structure there. Have always been up in that top end, and as you said, have the ambitions to get promoted. But yeah, Queen's Park, it's like when you follow their results, they are very inconsistent. So I think that's really difficult as a coach to know what your team's going to give you week in, week out. So he will be hoping he can push on from that result yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about for Queen's Park as well. Same with Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock obviously beat Boroughmuir as well. They've really struggled with injuries, and to get a player like Monica Harty back as well and scoring the winning goal in that game. How big's that for Kilmarnock to get these players back?
Yeah, I think yes, they've been struggling and they get players back. And yesterday would have been a great result for them, especially against Boroughmuir, who are always a really dogged team to play against. And again, they're a team that can be quite inconsistent as well. So sometimes it's difficult to play with teams where they'll turn up and you'll get a really good win, and then the next week they're struggling a bit. But I think Kilmarnock, I did see out on social media with them, they were ecstatic about their win yesterday, and particularly with a clean sheet as well. And I think that's important as well, is not conceding, because that just gives you the whole defense, and it gives the whole team defensively that confidence. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes it's about not conceding as much as it is about getting the goals.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and particularly getting Hart back will be really promising for Kilmarnock.
Massive for Kilmarnock. Into the Championship, Rossvale beat Hutchie Vale 5-3 in a thrilling game. Morgan Anderson with a double for Rossvale, obviously keeps them in touch with Livingston, who also won that league. The one thing obviously it's beginning to look like is with Livingston, Rossvale and Renfrew all winning, there is beginning to become a 3-horse race for the title.
Yeah, I think you can start to see the top three just pulling away as each week comes, and it'll become basically the race for those three and what results they're getting against them. But yes, Rossvale 5 goals gives me some thoughts for our Scottish Cup game. But no, I mean, and Hutchie Vale are a very young team as well, actually, because we've played them. We played them last year in the Championship, and they have, I think, when they originally come up, I mean, most of their players would have been the under 18s moving up into senior women's football. So sometimes it's just like the gaining of experience, and that kind of inconsistency. But if you were definitely a neutral yesterday, the Hutchie Vale Rossvale game would have been the one to go to with 8 goals. So that'd have been a fantastic goal to go in, because I think that there were 2 each at one point as well. So it's very competitive, and then obviously Rossvale's just been able to push on. And again, we talk about it getting those clinical finishing.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like, obviously, with these 3 teams winning, Renfrew obviously, it was a tight game against Drybrough. I want to touch a wee bit on Drybrough actually, because obviously they're in the final with the Championship Cup, and they'll play. I think they'll play FC Edinburgh. They're just so unlucky at times. Not that I spoke to a couple of people about them, and they say they just only getting like a couple of games where they've picked up draws, and they're just in a better day they would have got a result. I think they're unlucky to be in the position they are in the league.
Yeah, I think sometimes that happens to you as a club, where you just, that old saying, you can't buy a win. It's just where it's just small, marginal decisions or events that happen in a game. And I think, as you said, Drybrough are probably in that. And I know John there, and they are so ambitious, and they want to do well by their players, and they want to really create that structure for them to develop. And I think they're at that stage where it's just learning how to. It's probably more around game management overall, of just where they're so close to that tipping point of being able to be the one that consistently gets the wins every week, rather than, because none of their results this year have been huge results. It's all been by 1 goal.
They're really tight.
Goals. It's so tight with them, and it's great to see them back in the final. I think that'll be a really, really good final actually between both those teams. Because obviously FC Edinburgh's running high in League One, but I think that will be a really, really tight game. So
big result for Ayr as well, going to Inverness and winning 3-0. Rachel Scott with a double. She's had a really good start to the season, and Claire Docherty obviously been on the show, and has really, with that Ayr team, they're probably not happy with the position they're in. But when you go to a place like Inverness, and you'll know this as well, to go there and win 3-0 is always massive.
yeah, I think that's for them is really, really important for Ayr, that result yesterday against the Inverness Cali Thistle. But I think, to be fair, Inverness Khalifa. So I think their manager came out yesterday really unhappy with their performance, just feeling, and I think that is difficult when you sit as a manager where she was saying, you know, maybe not having the depth of squad that she really needs to be able to challenge the players to do better there. So, but great win for Ayr. And they are one of those other teams as well. You can turn up, you get this phenomenal Ayr team, or they struggle. So their
Yeah.
consistency matters as well. But obviously, Claire Docherty, I mean, she's such an experienced player and she's such a leader for them at Ayr. But it's just great to see that result for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Into League One, obviously St Mirren's League. We obviously spoke about St Mirren's 3-0 win over Westdyke, but FC Edinburgh got they returned 3 points clear again at the top of the table. A 3-0 win away to BSC Glasgow, a double from Debbie McLeod and Ellie Crawford with the third goal. Obviously, he's play FC Edinburgh next week. I'll get your thoughts on that in a couple of minutes. But this FC Edinburgh team are the only team I think unbeaten in Scottish women's football outside Rangers and Glasgow City.
Yeah, I think I mean, FC Edinburgh probably feel they should be playing in the Championship. They've obviously had, it's obviously been discussed why they're playing in League One and not in the Championship. So I think they have a point. They want to prove to Scottish women's football. We've played them twice now, and they are such a high performing team.
Mhm.
And I think that's why the Dryborough game will be really interesting to see how they manage that, particularly since it's a step up in that league above. But no, they're going well, and I think they'll continue to go well, and they'll be the team that much of League One will be chasing.
Falkirk, obviously they obviously went joint in second with Westdyke. Stenhousemuir did as well. A 5-1 win away to Edinburgh Caledonia. They were 1-0 down as well. Cullen, Simmons, Rule, Johnson and Gilbert were the goals for Falkirk. Falkirk was spoke about a lot in the past few weeks. They have obviously players like Suzanne Wyatt who are very experienced, but when you've got 5 players chipping in with 5 goals, it's good to have that balance in the squad and they're all able to chip in.
Yeah, I think it's important in the leagues that you're not relying on just your strikers. I think it has to be that your team has to be capable of scoring from various, and that's good to see. And as I said, Falkirk, again, they're always a club that's up in that top end and have ambitions to be promoted.
Yeah.
So they'll be happy with their team yesterday.
Yeah, Stenhousemuir obviously as well. They joined that pack of Westdyke Falkirk and kind of joined second, a 3-0 win away to Dundee West. Lucy Sullivan made a double and June Connolly made it 3. Again, Stenhousemuir, they've got some experienced players and Lucy Sullivan made a double. They've got some really impressive players in that side and they'll be looking now to kick on from that.
I think also as well for Stenhousemuir, that's probably they were probably quite mixed about because I know that they had a smaller squad. And they've been really rebuilding there. Because I've chatted to them at Stenhousemuir and we had played in a pre-season friendly and so therefore they're doing really well. And as well they're really seeing results out now. So I know we've had really ours was a 2-1 game against them as well. So it's always been really tight, but the 3-0 win yesterday would just show how well they're doing and really building. And I saw that they had signed a few more players recently, so they've really started to create that depth to their squad that you need. In League One, I think over the piece will have 28 games to play. Plus, if you're then adding on to that, you've got cup games and stuff. So particularly in our league this year, squads are massive, and that squad mentality from the players will be massive this year.
So does everybody play each other home and away? Then it splits into 2. Is that how it's going to work?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean it's, and you look at it already. Obviously, with yourselves obviously sitting in 6th, there's 9 points between St Mirren and Giffnock. It's already looking like there is a top 6. How important is it to just balance that? And as you mentioned there earlier in the show, it's about solidifying that top 6 position, and it's clear now that that's obviously what the club are looking for. When you see that there's a 9-point gap, it's important obviously for yourselves that you kick on and keep that going.
And I think that's why our result against Westdyke in these next few games is so important to us. If we'd lost that game yesterday, that would have we'd have effectively become the team that bridged that lower half and that upper top 5. And we'd have been getting ourselves and we'd spoke about that during the week that we couldn't afford to be disconnected from that top six, and the result helped us stay connected to that
Yeah,
group.
absolutely.
And definitely the league that is shown, but I think the league's very competitive, and what it says about those teams that are, and that we were probably there last year before the restructure, and it's about growth and about development, and these teams are all ambitious that they want to really develop within the performance arm. So albeit we go along and we're seeing that gap, the games aren't. It's like the games are still quite tight, so they're probably teams that are losing like 1 and 2 goals, and probably a bit as we discussed there. Like with Dryborough, it's just small decisions. It's decision making that's it's the difference between some of the results.
And I think it's that thing as well. You just look, Edinburgh Caledonia is a good example here. They've played 11 games, they've got 11 points, but they've got a +5 goal difference. And you look at a team like Giffnock, who are a point ahead of them, they're sitting at a -20 goal difference. So it shows you this thing of this league that you can. Obviously, there is probably two different leagues taking place, but Edinburgh Caledonia could go and get a massive result against another team, but then lose to another team. There is this weird nature of the league that it's so competitive, but you see there is two different things.
Yeah, I think as the season go along, I don't think when we have our results out every week, or the games get released every week, I don't think any of us sit there and go, we can actually guarantee what the results will be.
Correct, and that's the good thing about this league. And I think every league's like that in the women's game at the moment.
Yeah, and even like yesterday, and I know that we've got Glenaford to talk about as well, but we played Glenaford only 2 weeks ago, and they went 2-1 up against us. So they've got the capability there. Cara McAnally plays up front, played for us as well, and was a striker for us as well, and she's got a phenomenal talent. But and then their game last week, I know for Glenaford, I mean, I think they lost and they conceded the goal in the last minute. So for them, it is that progress. But yesterday it was 5-0 for them. So it's just the consistency. It's learning to be consistent at this level. And be clinical when finishing, but you have to be able to defend really well as a team. So, and that's the difference. Is like the last 2 weeks they've done so well, and then yesterday they probably had one of those days, and then they find themselves conceding 5 goals. So,
yeah. And that's the thing as well. Like, obviously, Grampian went to Airdrie Ladies and won 4-2 as well. 4 different goal scorers for Grampian. Megan Murray got a double for Airdrie. Grampian are a side, obviously, that you'll come up against as well. They've been ticking away nicely in that league, actually. They've been picking up some good results. They've got a good goal difference. They're sitting at +25. They're capable of putting giving a game to some really good sides, Grampian.
Yeah, and it's the same for us. We've played them twice now. So the first game we won 2-1. And then the second game, and they play very direct football, so I would say they're probably a bit more old style of Scottish football. Their goalkeeper plays particularly direct, and then they've got their number 10 up front, who's just a real target player for her, and she's a real handful, actually. She's a real physical player. I saw also as well as they've signed a couple of players from on loan from Montrose during the week, some younger players.
I've seen that,
Again, that just adds a bit of additional like youth and energy into your squad. So yeah, but again, Airdrie, we played Airdrie up at Curluck. I think we only won 1-0 up there from memory. And Airdrie's one of those sides, really physical side, but they've also signed a few players as well. So definitely their results are getting better as well over the last couple of weeks. So I think it just makes the league really, really competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And Giffnock, a big win for them. Obviously, they leapfrog from 10th into 7th with that result yesterday. A 4-1 home win over Glenaford. Siobhan Scott with a double, Hawkins and Butts with the 4 goals for Giffnock. Again, you would say it's a successful week at the weekend at the office when you leapfrog 3 places in the league. Yeah,
but that's the thing. The points are so tight for us, and for them, it would have been I think Glenaford would have went into that game thinking they could have taken something from that, and that's just the consistency. But again, when we've played them, the first time round, we lost 2-1, penalty in the last minute of the game.
Yeah.
And then second time they come to us and we win 10-0. It's like just because we were very clinical finishing, and that's why probably looking at Giffnock's goal difference, I mean, they conceded 10 against us, and that's the challenge we have in this league. If you have a bad day at the office as such, then you get punished. So the consistency you need to have, you can't afford to be turning up and not beat your game. So I think Glenaford will be a wee bit disappointed yesterday. I think they'd have looked to, but also for Giffnock, they want to really push on as well. So they'd have seen that as a really good result.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with that league, you mentioned there, obviously they're playing FC Edinburgh next week. How big a game's that for the side? Obviously a big boost of confidence by beating Westdyke. How much is looking forward to playing at Edinburgh next week?
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the last two games we've played, both in the cup. We had them in the League Cup and had them in obviously the league, both up at Meadowbank. It's a big pitch up there. We lost both of the games 4-0, but I think for us, we really felt that it was just a few mistakes, decision making, and they're so clinical in their finishing, and that's the challenge that you have. They don't need a lot of, need a lot of opportunities to get themselves ahead, and that's the danger with them. Is that so for us? Really, it's about going out there and seeing how we can constantly compete with them, because at the moment they're sitting top of the league, so that's where you've got to benchmark against. So for us, when we go to play them next week, it's about us going up there and just seeing how well we can do.
And obviously a cup game coming up against Rossvale. The cup's obviously big as well the cup's big for every club, but it would be some occasion obviously to play Rossvale and get a result and go on a good cup run, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think you're always looking for that opportunity. Everybody likes playing in the cup games. It's just that wee extra edge. It also gives us chances to maybe play other players that are maybe not consistently playing in the league games. But definitely it'll be a really tough game for us. There obviously will be riding high in some of the results that they have. And again, they're another team that you can't afford to give them any opportunities. So we'll be hoping to get them and really finish this end of the season with some good results, or at least being close there and making some progress.
Yeah, but we're wishing you all the best for the season ahead, Kate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks very much to everyone who's listened to the show. Please follow us on social media for consistent women's football coverage and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.